once this is going, because this goes right away. Let people in. And then I'll just do your intro and you'll be set. All right, we're live. I'm gonna start the webinar. Why can't I? Emma, can you record? Oh, I got it. All right. Okay.
All set?
Yeah, we're all good. All right, everybody's coming in. All right, so good morning, everyone. Welcome. Paul left some donuts and coffee outside of the door for you this morning on your way in when you come in to take a seat. I haven't done a webinar in a while, so it's fun to be able to do some of my old like mom jokes, our old mom webinar jokes. So yeah, welcome everyone. I see some names in here that I know. This is so welcome to the webinar. We're just going to give everybody about another minute to come in and get to their seats. Hopefully they have their coffee and donut in hand, and then we will get going. Thanks, Fred. I appreciate it. Fred loves mom jokes. I appreciate it, Fred. Thank you. Yeah. I almost called out like all the used to when I was little growing up in the area there was a children's show on, and she used to look through her magic mirror and she used to say your name, and you always used to wait for her to call your name, and you'd be like, please say my name today that she can see me. And I almost did that, but nobody in here would have understood it. And I would have said, and in the class today, I see Robin and I see Lisa and I see Fred. But I didn't do that. So, all right. So I'm going to get going. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the MassMEP webinar, Lead with Energy and Impact, Goodbye Overwhelm, Hello Growth, with Transformational Leadership Coaching. And our panelist from Transformational Leadership Coaching is Paul Serafino. He likes to tag himself as Lean Guy that turned leadership coach. So we will welcome Paul. I'm Haley Steele. I'm the marketing manager with MassMEP. We also have with us Emma Mailman, our marketing coordinator this morning, and we will be here for the webinar itself. So thank you all for joining us. As you can see, we are in a webinar format, so your mics are muted, but there are plenty of ways for you to engage with us this morning. If you've been living under the rock for almost 2 years now that we've been doing these Zoom webinar events, down on the bottom ribbon, you should see an option for 2 little Q&A, which are little chalk bubbles next to each other. And there's also a chat bubble. The Q&A, we strongly encourage you to use, especially today in this environment, to ask questions. We usually like to say to everyone that if you have a question, more than likely somebody else in the audience has a question very similar. So really encourage you to use the Q&A. We also have the chat option, and like Fred sent to us this morning and said, thanks, hi Haley, I love mom jokes, but if you want to do something that you need to reach out to Paul directly and want to have something for him specifically, you just want to chat with him in regards to, we would encourage you to use the chat button for that. So please go ahead and use either one of those options this morning. We do have an hour set aside for the webinar today. We do feel it's plenty of time for the content and the Q&A, but we will be respectful, obviously, of your time and of our panelists' time for Paul. So if we do begin to run over, we will end the webinar as scheduled, but we do have the option to answer your questions that you may have, and Paul can reach out to you directly because you did all sign up with your email address, so we can send those answers back to you through your email. Our webinar is being streamed live on Facebook, so good morning everybody on Facebook Live. This will also be available on our Facebook channel from now until the end of time, or until Facebook goes down again with another mass outage. And at that point, we kind of like to say that Facebook, we use that as our personal DVR. If you know somebody that you feel would benefit from seeing this webinar but wasn't able to attend, we recommend that you send them over to our Facebook page and they can go through our videos and they'll be able to find this video with Paul this morning. So that's where we'll be. We also have a YouTube page, and that's where the video will live there as well. So we have two options for you to go back if you know somebody could benefit from watching this. So without further ado, let's begin our webinar, Lead with Energy and Impact, Goodbye Overwhelm, Hello Growth. I'm going to turn it over to Paul, and I strongly suggest that if you don't have a notebook and a pen ready to roll, you grab one quick while he does an introduction, because you will be taking a lot of notes this morning. So Paul, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Haley and Emma as well, and all of MassMEP for having me on. This is kind of cool. I'm excited because I haven't done a webinar live like this either in a little bit of time. So over the last 18 months, lots of webinars, lots of Zoom meetings, and I think things kind of slowed down for a bit. So it's cool to be back live and glad to see everybody on and the attendees. So like Haley mentioned, yeah, just use the chat if you got a quick question while I'm going. I'll kind of monitor that on the side, and then I think Q&A we'll be able to use that too at the end. There should be plenty of time to really dive in to any questions that you guys have. So I'll tell you a little bit more about myself as we go through. I do have a slide on my background that we'll get to, but just real quick, for those of you on that don't know me already, I do see a few familiar names, but I actually worked at MassMEP a few years back, I think about 5-6 years ago almost now. And I've got a lot of extensive experience with manufacturing in different capacities and different roles. And what I've been doing the last few years is working with individuals as a leadership coach. So I work with people in different levels within an organization that have management titles, management roles, who are really looking to kind of get out of the overwhelm and really start to grow as an individual and also contribute to growing their company. And that's why I titled the webinar what I did. So it's really all about how do we crush the overwhelm, get rid of it, say goodbye to it, and then welcome in the growth. So I'm going to share with you a bunch of different strategies that I've used myself personally, but also I've taught other people through different trainings and also as a coach to really help them develop themselves, step into their leadership role the way they want to, and really kind of take their career to a new level and have the impact in their company that they want to have. So enough rambling from me. I'll get right into the content and the good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and share at full screen and hopefully not screw this up too bad. So looks like that's working okay, and everybody hopefully can see that. So welcome again today, and thanks for jumping on. My name is Paul Serafino, and this is called Lead with Energy and Impact, Goodbye Overwhelm, Hello Growth. So energy and impact are two of the things that everybody that I speak to that's in a management role that things might not be going as well as they wanted to or as well as they'd hoped by now. Those are the two things that they all tell me they want. They want more impact, but they also feel like they want more energy. So I figure why not combine the strategies together and kind of give you a step-by-step of how to get both. And that's what we're going to walk through today. And I'm sure most of you on here already fit sort of these, these categories that I'm going to list here. If you don't, it's okay. It's still going to apply. And if you fit all of them, great. This is definitely for you. You're in the right place. But really, this is for middle and senior managers, executives, continuous improvement leaders, and really for anybody who wants to grow as an individual and lead successful change, and also people who want to lead continuous improvement initiatives or activities, projects, whatever words that you're using for that in your company and with your teams, and also lead transformations. So we talk a lot about lean and we talk about change, and really the big word is transformation, right? It's all about how do we get from where we are today to where we really want to be. And if you're an individual who wants to be able to do that more successfully and take the reins and be at the helm of a transformation initiative or effort in your business or in your company, then this is definitely for you. If you're somebody who wants to gain more buy-in from your team below and from the support that you might have above, or gain more support from the levels above and make the big picture vision a reality, if that's something you're struggling with and want to learn how to do that better, this is absolutely for you as well. And then finally, if you just want to be recognized more and valued as a high impact leader, while also living a healthier, more balanced life, then the strategies you're going to hear today are definitely going to help you out. And this is absolutely for you. And this is what we're really going to cover today and what you're going to discover, the main thing is a 4-part framework to establish yourself as a highly valued, highly effective leader of growth and continuous improvement. So I'm going to break down that framework and kind of go through a step-by-step of how you can start to implement it yourself. You're also going to discover how to crush the overwhelm, like I talked about, and how to really conquer stress so you can focus on creating impact, leading and creating change, but without having to prove yourself first or being the one that gets stuck doing all the work. You'll also discover the fastest way to scale up your influence and get buy-in from all levels, above, below, outside, inside the company, while leading with your ideas and developing the people around you. And then finally, you're going to discover how to make your career more exciting and more fulfilling and be able to maintain a balance of work, health, and family life, even if that's something you've been struggling with for a really long time. A lot of people come to me and say they've been striving for balance for years. In some cases, it's been decades, and they're kind of giving up hope, and they feel like maybe it's them. Maybe they're just the kind of person that can't have that. And I'm here to tell you that that's nothing can be further from the truth. If you've been at this for 5 years or 25 years, there is hope, there is time. You can still make a difference and start to change your situation. So before I really kind of get into how to get those outcomes, I just want to run a few things by you and ask, does any of this sound like you? Have you been working really hard for a long time, like I mentioned, maybe for decades, to make a bigger difference and have a greater impact, but it just feels like you're spinning your wheels and living the same chaotic day over and over? Do you get pushback from your team and pressure from all directions? And you feel overworked and unappreciated, and maybe your health is starting to suffer or your family is really paying the price? Are you wearing multiple hats and getting spread way too thin, pulled in a million directions every day? And frustration and exhaustion have kind of become your norm, and you wonder if being a leader is worth it anymore? Are you tired of having no time to think or plan or do anything that feels like real progress, and being overwhelmed all the time has you secretly wanting to just quit? Are you looking for a way out because that seems like maybe the only solution? Now, if any of those things sound like you, or maybe even all of them, then I actually have good news, because none of those things is the real problem. Those are all just symptoms of the actual problem. The problem is that you haven't mastered what I call the 4 pillars of transformation leadership. And before I show you exactly how to do that, I just want you to know that once you do master these 4 pillars, you're going to be able to unlock new levels of confidence for yourself and new levels of control, and be recognized as that high impact leader who cares about people and elevates teams to their fullest potential. You'll be able to lead with your strategic ideas and your vision for growth and success of the company. You'll stay cool, calm, and collected when faced with big decisions, and you'll have the energy to lead while keeping the company running. And you'll also feel refreshed and recharged. You'll love your job again, and you're going to have more time to enjoy your life. So mastering these 4 pillars, that's really the key to getting to all those outcomes we talked about. And before I get into that, I just want to take a real quick second, tell you a little bit about myself, just so you know why you should listen to what I have to say and where I come from. And so I spent 16 years in manufacturing before moving into the coaching world. And I was on the production floor for a while. I was in engineering. I did lean and CI training, implementation, doing. I was part of some value stream transformations in a big way in some companies, and then also in some smaller ways. So I've kind of seen different scales of that. And I also spent a lot of time leading teams and developing people. And that's where I learned about a lot of the struggles that different leaders were facing, because I was going through that myself. And over the last decade or so, I've helped a lot of different managers and executives in different size companies, different types of organizations, a lot of them in manufacturing. I've helped them reach new levels of impact in their careers and to really thrive in their personal lives. And they use the same strategies, and I taught them the same strategies that we're going to cover today. And finally, I specialize in helping people fast track their way to becoming top contributors in their organizations. And the way I discovered the 4 pillars that we're going to kind of break down for you today and show you the strategies around those is it really all started around the big leadership failure myth. I think a lot of you, if you're in a leadership role, you might kind of feel that pressure or feel like there's a lot of blame being placed when transformations don't go well, or if lean doesn't work, it's the leader's fault. And you hear a lot of different reasons why that is. And people like to kind of say leadership is the root cause of the failure. And I feel in what I learned and observed, that's a myth more often than not. Lean and continuous improvement transformations fail because management doesn't want to commit, buy in, support, or lead the effort. That's what you hear a lot. That's the myth. But after interviewing and coaching hundreds of different managers, executives, VPs, directors, I think I discovered the truth. And that is, the problem is not that leadership is unwilling or resistant or doesn't want to lead transformations. I think it's that they're unprepared to lead because no one really taught them how. They maybe gained that position, became a leader, stepped into a higher management role for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes maybe it wasn't even their choice. It was just kind of the natural progression, or somebody left and they were tagged to step in. And they might have all the desire in the world to lead and make change and make the company or the team better, but they're unprepared. They just didn't have anybody showing them how. So hopefully we can change that today, and I can give you the strategies that'll put you in a better position where you're more prepared to step into that role as a transformation leader. And so the myth is that management title or leadership position automatically means you're ready to lead those changes, lead those transformations, but you're also expected to keep the company running. And the truth is that you need new skills, new thinking, and a new strategy to really be able to do both of those things at the same time, right? It's asking a lot of somebody to make changes, but also maintain the current progress and the current status, because companies spend a lot of time building up to where they're at. And somebody's got to keep that running before just stepping away to work on the future. And oftentimes one individual is expected to do both. And to be able to really do that successfully, you have to have new skills, new thinking, and new strategies to be able to do that. So the solution, before you try to transform the whole company or even change a team, is to transform yourself first by changing the way you approach 4 key areas of leadership. And those 4 key areas are what I call the 4 pillars. The first is time. So you really want to make sure your time is structured and protected. The second is your energy. And that goes into being decisive and committed. And I'm going to explain what that means when we get to that one. And then the third is action. So consistent and inspired action is really the key to change. Then the 4th pillar is the mission, being focused on the mission and remaining balanced as you're the one that takes people there. So I'm going to break down each of these 4 pillars almost like a mini strategy within itself. When you combine all 4 together, that's really where you're able to step into the leadership role as somebody who's going to take the company to a new height, take your career to a new height, and really lead and drive transformation. So the first pillar is time. And the building blocks of that are looking at what's important, what's essential, scheduling, having the structure around it. And then most importantly, the thing I find where people lack the most is the boundaries. And that's really kind of the first strategy. What I focus on is getting time back every day. And that's really around having that control or the boundaries and protection around your time. So the first myth that sort of prevents people from being able to do this is what I call the efficiency myth. That's where you believe that you have to say yes to everything and everyone, solve everything, solve it all yourself, be available 24/7, have an open door policy. A lot of these are sort of external expectations that people step into leadership roles and feel like if they don't do those things, they'll be seen as either a failure or somebody who's just, closed off and doesn't really care. But what I discovered is it's a myth that being more efficient is really a solution, because the symptoms of trying to do it this way that I witness or observe in people is that they're overworked, overcommitted, running in circles, firefighting. They're trapped in reaction mode, which leads to exhaustion, stress, people pleasing. A lot of people tell me that they're struggling because they feel like they're always pleasing everybody instead of focusing on what's important. Maybe you're struggling with that too. They make costly mistakes because they're not staying focused or giving enough time to one thing at once. And they have no free time. So their day is filled and it usually runs over and spills into long hours, getting home late and starting their next day early. So the old way to solve this is what people normally expect or teach is just be more efficient to be able to get more done in a limited amount of time. So the shift that I want you to make, or the new way to look at, is to be able to do less work in less time, but get more done. And if you take this approach or you make that shift to the new way, you can reclaim easily 3+ hours a day by completing and focusing on what's essential, what's important, and what moves the needle, which requires saying no. It requires saying no to the non-critical requests, to the distractions, to other people's work being kind of dumped on your desk, or you're expected to do that or pick up the slack. And also saying no to your own non-essential to-do list. Lots of us have those lists where we just keep adding to it. It gets longer, we shuffle it around, we reprioritize it, we hang it on the wall or write it on the whiteboard and then agonize over it, but never actually make progress with it, never actually check anything off. And most times what I'm finding with people is that that list is almost 100% non-essential. So it's causing a lot of stress and wasting a lot of time focusing on it. And what I want you to do as the new way is to say no to those things. And what you might be thinking is saying no never works. You know, you try it and people just dismiss it, blow it off, or don't even hear you. Or people will think you don't care if you say no to them, or you might lose your job if you're seen as sort of the stonewaller or the person who just, you know, throws up their hand and rejects everything and says no without really listening or considering it. So there's more strategic ways to go about it, to say no, to be able to recover your time and keep your priorities on what's most important and essential. And so I really want to show you those more strategic ways. But the thing to consider is saying yes to everyone and everything. It's actually weakening your team and it weakens their trust in you. And if you see that or you think about it and you believe that to be true, then no, saying no is actually an improvement. But the way you do it matters. And so here's how you do that. Create a list of responsibilities that you should own. So based on where you're at in the organization, based on what you know is important and what you want to accomplish, because it's better for everyone, it's better for the direction of the team or the business, build out that list of the things that you want to be responsible for, that you're skilled and qualified to own, the things that you enjoy owning, the things that you know are going to make a difference. And then start saying no to everything else, because it's all taking away from you focusing on that main list. And there's 3 ways to do that. The first is give permission. So don't jump in and solve. You know, give others permission to be creative and trust their capability in solving those problems. And by doing this, you might even expose development opportunities that you'd otherwise miss. That person might actually need to strengthen a skill or get some training or some help in an area where if you jump in and solve the problem, you're never going to know that that person has that weakness. So they're never going to get better. And you also got to trust that they have the creativity and the skill to solve problems, maybe even better than you. If you're the leader and they're an expert in the area, they might actually be more qualified to solve it. And you've got to kind of let go of the thought that they won't solve it the same way as you. That's not the goal. The goal is that they come up with a solution. So that's really kind of the first way to say no strategically, where it doesn't feel like you're just blowing people off or closing your door and hiding. The second way is giving ownership. So don't make decisions just because you were asked to. A lot of leaders and a lot of people in management roles tell me that they make decisions all day long just because that's what's expected, or they get the email and they're CC'd on it, so they feel like they have to weigh in and tell everybody what needs to be done or say yes or no to something. So instead of making those decisions just because you're asked to, give that ownership back to those experts. You know, let them know that you trust them making the decision. That's why they work there. They weren't hired just to get the job done. They're hired to think. They're hired to make decisions. So you got to let them know that. And they need to develop that skill as well. So in terms of elevating your team and making them stronger, if they start becoming better decision makers because you put that ownership back on them, that's going to alleviate the burden from you in a lot of ways, but it's also going to strengthen your team. So now the bigger things you want to focus on, you've got a group of people that can help you get there. They can build it with you. And then the third way is giving guidance. So don't provide relief to the struggling people by doing things yourself to save time. A lot of us sometimes in leadership or management roles, I'm guilty of this myself in the past, when someone's struggling, we know it's going to take them a long time to figure it out. And we feel that pressure, like, well, we got to get it done today. Let me do this myself. I'll spare you the struggling, the suffering of struggle, and I'll do it myself. And then, next time we'll spend more time talking through it. Well, next time never happens. And so it's a Band-Aid to jump in and do it yourself, to relieve them of suffering with the struggle. Let them struggle, but give them guidance, mentor them a little bit, give them some tips, find them some support if they need it, but allow them to find their way, because even though it takes longer the first time, that's going to eliminate that cause of wasted time and effort downstream, because you're going to help them struggle with the struggle over and over and over. And if that's an hour every week with one person, think about how much that adds up to in a year. And if you're doing that with everybody on your team, it's taking up a significant portion of your day. Sometimes 50% of your week is spent bailing people out. Let them find their way, give them some guidance, and they'll become stronger. And then that time sink will be gone. So pillar number 2 keeps disappearing. There it is. Pillar number 2 is around energy. The building blocks for that are obviously mental energy, physical energy, emotional energy. But we're going to talk a little bit about the source and fuel for energy. Those are very important to consider. But decisiveness is kind of the key when it comes to energy. I don't think a lot of people realize that decisions do take energy, especially when you're in a leadership role. It may take mental and emotional energy. It can take physical energy. But looking at how you source it or fuel it is really important, because when you get stuck in indecision loops, it just means you're probably drained. And that's what this pillar is really all about, is mastering that and solving the things that drain it. And so the strategy around it is conserving and spending energy wisely. So this is all about busting the transformation myth. And the transformation myth that a lot of people subscribe to, and that I see in many different places, is that leading change means doing all the things: project management, change management, Lean, Sigma, Scrum, Agile, Sprint, whatever version of that or acronym you've created from that, incentive programs, voice of customer, 360 feedback. All of those things are important, and all of those things, when done right, serve a purpose. But trying to basically get out the giant shoehorn and get them all jammed into your team or your organization at once is not the way to go. But I think a lot of people are told, or they feel like it's expected of them when they're a leader, to make sure all these things are happening. Get it all done at once. Just make sure we check those boxes, and that's what transformation is. And you probably know, just by hearing me describe it that way, that that's not going to work. But so many people are doing it, and the symptoms to look for to know if that's happening to you or within your team is that constant pushback that you're getting. And it usually comes in forms of people saying, we've been there, done that. How is it different this time? We've tried change management. We did 360 feedback. We did all the things. Why is it different this time? Why are you pushing for it again? So they push back. It causes a lot of internal conflicts with your peers, or even maybe the managers or leaders you report to. Because resources and priorities, right? Those start to conflict. You're trying to do project management, someone else is trying to build an incentive program, and you're all, pulling from the same limited pool of people, right? Especially nowadays with what we're seeing in so many manufacturers, where it's hard to maintain a workforce that's going to get results. But all of a sudden, when you try to do all these things at once, you're spreading them thin, you're stressing them out. And it may not be your intention, but if you believe in the transformation myth that leading change means doing all these things, the result is that you're actually stressing a limited or already stressed workforce. And then another symptom to look for is that you feel weeded, and everybody else around you does too, which basically means everyone's playing catch up, which means working hard all day, putting in extra hours just to maintain status quo, or maybe even try to get back to it. So there's really no growth or improvement. There's no room for it, but everybody's exhausted. And so there's no extra time to do change management, or there's no extra time to focus on voice of customer, because everyone's just playing catch up, trying to keep their heads above water. So if those are the things that are going on, what it's eventually going to lead to, and maybe already has, is projects are in limbo. You're feeling drained all the time. You might be overwhelmed by all this, and eventually it could lead to burnout. And that's pretty serious. When even if you're not in a leadership role, anybody that's experienced burnout or seen someone they love or care about go through it, it's a big deal, and it's hard to recover from. But that's where these things lead to. So if you're seeing the symptoms, take action now to get out ahead of it. Unfortunately, the old way is just to keep going, push through, and eventually we'll be transformed. If we get all these things done, and no one really ever knows what that means, to finish Sigma, Scrum, Agile, or to finish, incentive programs. What does done mean? It's kind of a moving target you'll chase forever. But that's sort of the belief that's out there, is just keep going, and eventually transformation will be something we'll just know we have. But that's too vague, and it's probably going to take too long to get there. So the new way is to look at transformation differently. Transformation is not all of the different projects or all of the different implementations or all of the different things that you're trying to squeeze in. It's really the decision to lead it, the decision to change it, to change the current situation and go for something better. So if you see transformation as a decision, when you're the leader, that decision has to start in your mind first. You have to be the one that's decided, I'm going to lead the transformation. We are going to change. And although that may sound obvious, most of the people I talk to, when we really get down to it and dig in, they never really decided that transformation was the way to go. They may have decided that they wanted to do change management, or they wanted to do more Scrum, or they wanted to put up more visual management, but that's not transformation, right? Those are decisions to do a project. So they kind of skip this critical step. So before you can really lead anyone to a new state or condition, before you can decide on transformation, you have to believe in two things yourself first. Number one is you have to believe that it's possible to achieve it, to achieve the thing that you're saying you want to do, to achieve that new state you want to take people to. You also have to believe that you are the one who can lead it. So like I mentioned earlier in kind of the intro, a lot of people are in leadership or management positions that they didn't really get there because they worked hard for it or fought for it. They might have worked hard in other positions, and then one day they got tagged and said, the VP just quit, I need you to step in, right? Or they got a promotion to director level because they'd been there a long time and that's what they had their sights set on, but they never really stopped to consider, am I really the person who can lead this? Or am I just here because I love the company or I love what I do, but I'd kind of just like to work solo? So these are things that oftentimes a lot of people are all of a sudden in charge of major transformation efforts, and they're not really sure that they can do it. So you've got to believe that first. And you've got to believe that it's possible to achieve what you're saying you can achieve. And these are the top two reasons that I see when people don't have these two beliefs, that they face the pushback I talked about, that they end up overloading themselves because now they're trying to take on everything. They lose faith in themselves, in the process, maybe even in the business, and they give up altogether on the transformation. And again, it's not because they don't want to see things better. It's just because they're so overwhelmed by the process and they don't have these two beliefs that they find the easiest thing is to just step away, to either take a lesser position, to leave the company altogether, or to let other people kind of lead it and they'll contribute as a passenger. And so if your heart and mind is telling you you want to change things and you know the company can be great, start with working on believing these things about yourself first. And what happens is people spend a lot of that energy on everything but the decision, and they don't even realize that's what's happening. And so the reason for that is, and like I talked earlier about decisiveness requires energy, the reason that they're spending energy on other things and not the decision is that you look at your life, right? And you think about it, carrying around your lessons and experiences. I like to use a backpack analogy or metaphor. It's everything that you've experienced and learned is like a rock that you've picked up, you've dumped it in this backpack and you've taken it with you. And some of those things are actually the fuel that keeps you moving forward, either professionally, some of the things that just keep you alive, that keep you safe. It's the energy that you need to just exist and continue trying new things or learning. But a lot of the things that you've picked up along the way are actually draining you, right? They're pulling you down and they're keeping you from making those decisions. They're sucking the energy away from decisiveness. And it comes in three forms. The main ones are doubts. So doubting your own track record, doubting that you're qualified enough to be a leader, doubting that you're ready to lead. The other form is habits. So staying busy with low-hanging fruit, saying yes to everyone, ignoring your own intuition, chasing efficiency at the cost of effectiveness. These are all habitual patterns of behavior that people develop. And they're actually taking your energy away from the big decisions, especially the commitment to transform. And then finally, there's your fears. You know, we all have them. We're all afraid of some things, especially failure. Most people are afraid to fail. A lot of people are afraid of what others are going to think. They're afraid of being criticized. They're afraid to take risks, and they're afraid that everyone's going to find out they're a fraud. So you've made it to this leadership role. You worked hard to get there. You applied for it. You tried for it, or it kind of fell into your lap and you had no choice but to accept it. And now you're thinking, well, I don't know if I'm really the right person. And what if everyone discovers that? And that's kind of a scary thought that a lot of people have playing in the background. And so these things, the doubts, habits, and fears, take away the energy from making decisions. And so the way to solve that is something I call the backpack blueprint. So it's a really simple strategy. It's one process to be able to refuel that energy to make and own the decision that you are the one that's going to lead transformation. And so the way it looks is, this is probably where you are today, starting on the left. You've got this heavy pack of all these lessons and experiences from life, these doubts, habits, and fears that are weighing you down, making it hard to move forward. And where you want to be is over on the right, where it's a nice light pack of just the fuel, the things you need to drive you forward. And you're marching straight ahead with a smile on your face, knowing that you're the one taking everybody to a better place, taking the team and the organization to a higher level, but also taking yourself somewhere that's more fulfilling for you, right? Pursuing the dreams that you have as a leader. And the first step is you've got to identify those big rocks. You've got to really come face to face with what are the doubts you have about yourself? What are your own limiting or bad negative habits? What are you afraid of that's stopping you and holding you stuck in place, unable to make this big decision? Coming face to face with those things is hard. It's like holding up the mirror and seeing what's staring back and really analyzing and digging into what they are, and then eliminating the dead weight, getting rid of the habits that aren't working for you, crushing those doubts you have about yourself, conquering the fears. And there's processes to go through each of those, but until you make those steps and those efforts, changing or transforming yourself as a leader is very challenging. I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's going to be a lot more work than it needs to be. So once you've eliminated that dead weight, then you want to repack with the new fuel, which is those new beliefs. Believing in yourself and believing in what's possible. Sometimes that's hard to do when you've got all these other things in your mind playing like a broken record in the background, the doubts, the habits, and the fears. So once you've conquered and crushed those things, now you can really take those new beliefs with you and step into your leadership role with a very different mindset and a very different level of motivation to make things better, to change things and lead people to a better state. So the third pillar is action, right? And a lot of that is test and learn. So a lot of that is from what we talk about in Lean with experimentation, right? PDCA, repetition. So finding the right things that you want to repeat and continue to do. Reflection is a big part of action, even though it's not a lot of physical action, it's mental action. And a lot of times it's emotional action, and it's a step you can't skip. Looking back at the steps you did take, the things you did do, what did you get for an outcome, and how does it compare to what you expected? That reflection process is critical. Follow through is definitely part of action. Committing to something, right? And following through, deciding to do it, and then completing it, and remaining committed to getting the outcome, or at least getting an outcome that you can kind of reflect back on. So commitment and follow through kind of work together, but those are really the keys, the big keys to action. And so the strategy around this is commit and take action often. And the myth we have to bust around this is the great leader myth. Great leaders are self-made, self-motivated, self-taught. That's what a lot of people believe. And oftentimes they kind of see examples of great leaders and they feel like they just either were born that way or they got there on their own by figuring things out. So the symptoms of really subscribing to that myth are reading tons of leadership books, and I'm guilty of these things myself, right? Watching all the TED Talks about great leaders or by great leaders, but having vague goals for yourself, like just wanting to be a better leader or wanting to be a more efficient leader. And what does that actually mean? And what are you measuring that against? How do you know what it's going to be like when you are better? And in the background, you might be secretly worried that you don't really have what it takes. You're not one of these self-made leaders. So if you're experiencing those symptoms, you want to act now, because what that can lead to, and maybe it's here already for you, is slow or stalled professional growth, feeling stuck on predetermined career paths or the ladders that everybody likes to talk about, competing for positions, which includes applying for jobs online and waiting, or looking for internal postings and hoping that the person you think is a better leader than you doesn't get it or doesn't know about it. None of that's positive, none of that's productive. And also leads to the clunky do-it-yourself approach to leadership, because people believe in this myth that it's self-taught, self-made. So I've got to just figure all these things out on my own. The old way is just continue to learn more theory, collect more information, read more books, listen to more podcasts. So fill your day with these time-consuming activities, which is just basically an influx of information. And is it really going to help you transform? What are you really doing? Are you taking action, or are you just absorbing information? And I'm not against learning, but learning has to lead to doing, right? For it to make any kind of transformation or change. So the new way is getting into action to get into transformation. So to get to that change, get into action, because action is the key. However, misdirected action leads to dragging things out, taking on too much, ending up right where you started. Oops, bullets are out of order there. Sorry. The second one is, consistent inspired action creates impact. I don't think anybody would disagree with that, but clarity and commitment to an outcome is what powers the engine. It's what powers you to move forward. So you've got to have all those things kind of working and firing together. Repetition builds habits. We all know that. There's so much science behind it. It's crazy. But habits, like we talked about already, can be the fuel that keep you moving forward, keep you alive, keep you productive, but they can also be the dead weight that keeps you stuck, keeps you in indecision, drains your energy, and prevents you from ever taking action. And you can follow the one-piece flow methodology. A lot of you probably on here know all about that with Lean, and it's super powerful because it can enable timely completion and mitigate mistakes, right? So if you're doing one thing at a time, you pick the most important thing and you do only that until it's done, You're going to eliminate a lot of the mistakes, and you're probably going to get things done sooner than trying to do it all at once. The problem with that is you've got to make sure what you're doing and focused on for the day is actually important. And sometimes we take that for granted, or we assume, or we get trapped with our blinders on, focused on the one task, and we spend all day doing it because we just want to get it done. And then at the end of the day, we realize it probably wasn't the most important thing. It didn't move the needle. It didn't really change anything. So although getting into action is what you need to do to really transform yourself or anything around you, you need to have some direction along with that, because you could take a lot of the wrong actions and make a lot of mistakes. So don't DIY this, right? Don't do this yourself, because even the great ones, the great leaders, they had help. There's a lot of stories about them, a lot of TED Talks and Netflix specials, and it looks like they were just the one who had it all together. But sometimes you peel back a few layers, or you watch a different documentary about that same person, you find out they had a lot of support. They made a lot of mistakes along the way. They had a lot of people teaching and guiding them. So get help to develop the new skills and thinking and strategies that you need to be able to determine what are the right actions and take them at the right times, and also be able to lead the transformation the way that's going to be energizing and exciting and fulfilling, and not drain you to the point where you want to give up or walk away. So having the right support is going to bring you structure, accountability, new ideas to your development as a transformation leader. And someone like a coach or someone who's been through it can really guide you and accelerate your progress. And you've probably heard this before, that if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. But why not do both? Why not go far and get there fast, and then enjoy the destination, enjoy the point that you arrive at and get to? And the right help can really support you in that journey, if you will, right? It can help you in that effort to go fast, but get far at the same time. And then finally, the fourth pillar is mission. So the building blocks of mission are staying focused, having clarity, intention, which is really critical, inspiration, and balance. And out of all these, I'd say the most important building block, or the one people struggle with most, is balance. So clarity usually is the thing that they might struggle with, but they're striving for, they know about. But balance is the thing that seems to elude most people, and they just can't achieve that state where they feel balanced. So the strategy around this is to choose the signal and ignore the noise. And that's busting the journey myth. We have to break this down and look at the myth that transformation takes a really long time, like years. Some people tell you it's decades, or you'll never get to that end point. So it's just all about the journey. And the myth is that it takes a long time. The symptoms of this is that you talk about the journey a lot, you use that word, but very little real change is actually taking place. And there's a lot of distractions around you. You feel distracted. You feel like, and you witness or observe that transformation is disconnected from the real work. Sometimes you even hear people say, well, the lean stuff's over there, but today we're busy with the real work. So when you see that happening, it's because a lot of people have bought into this myth that transformation has to take a long time. When you're taking one step forward and sliding two steps back, if that's what you're experiencing, you know that this myth has a stronghold on you and the way you think, and especially the people around you. And it leads to losing sight of the meaningful goals that you might have set months or years ago or decades ago. It feels like drowning in quicksand. You might be checked out mentally. You're feeling very uninspired as a leader, and you might be looking for a way out. You might be in this mode of thinking, this is too hard. I've been at this too long, and maybe it's time to go find something new. Even if you're passionate about what your business or company does, or you love the people you're around, you love the work, people tell me that they do, and then they say, but I'm also looking for a new job. And I think that's because maybe in a lot of cases, this myth has taken too much power or had too much importance. The old way is to lead many small improvements, and eventually people will know what to do and everything will change. And I'm all about small, rapid improvements. I'm all about PDCA. But what I'm not about is making small improvements and then walking away from that, coming back to it and realizing everything slid backwards and you got to make that same improvement again, because you can get into that mode for months or years. And unfortunately, a lot of people say, well, that's the journey. It's going to take time. And it doesn't happen immediately, but it doesn't have to take years. So the new way is plan from the finish line or start at the top. Life's a journey, not a destination. You've heard that before. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. I kind of believe that it's a series of journeys, but without each journey having a meaningful destination, you're just wandering. You're vulnerable to external forces like other people's doubts and habits and fears, especially your own. Those things start to creep in when you don't have a meaningful place you're trying to get to. So define those destinations that are going to pull you forward, like a rope pulling you up to the summit of a mountain. It takes work, it takes planning, it takes risks and preparation to climb. We know that, but we also know that the top is where you want to be. Anybody who's, into hiking, or even like when you watch Free Solo, that documentary, yeah, the process to map it out was excruciating and it was timely, but he did it because he wanted to get to the top, not because he just wanted to hang off the side of a mountain. And the top is where you want to lead others. You want to get them there too. So it needs to be defined, it needs to be exciting, and it has to be something that pulls everybody forward. So if you kind of look at the little graphic there, right, you're at the bottom when you're starting out with a transformation or midway through and it feels like it's not going anywhere. You're looking up at a place that you don't know if that's really the top. It's cloudy, your vision is blurred, it's hard to see. It might just be one peak on the way. So oftentimes we have to imagine, what is the full destination? What is the summit? You have to imagine it, but then you have to really focus on getting there, and you have to define it so clearly that everybody else understands what it means to be there, because reaching that destination is the mission. Assign high importance to the activities that support it. And that's what I call the signals. So you want to start to break down, where are we trying to go, define it so clearly that people are excited about getting there, but then start to talk about and define, what are the activities that are actually going to move us closer and move us a far distance quickly, and put the most importance you can on those. Anything unrelated to the mission just becomes noise. So you have to downgrade its importance. I know the phone rings all day and you get emails and there's interruptions, and I'm not saying you just have to blow that stuff off, but you have to start to downgrade the importance those things get, because that's where you can spiral out of control and all your time and energy goes to those things. And then map out the milestones, which are the points along the way where you stop, reflect, regroup, and really kind of plan your next leg of the trip. So you've got to, in advance, ahead of time, planning from the end and working your way backwards, map out where you want to stop along the way to regroup. Don't wait until you get to a point where you're exhausted and say, we've got to take a break, because those breaks turn into months and years before you get back to the initial mission. Know that stuff ahead of time, because then you'll know if you're on track as you reach each milestone. And then take action. Once you have that planned out, get into action, take that first step. When we talk about balance, the way this all kind of connects to the life of a balanced leader is that there's 3 areas of life that we're all experiencing, we all kind of live in, and each has its own series of journeys and destinations. There's your vocation and career, your relationships, and your health. So balance really comes from making decisions in just one of those journeys at a time. So defining your destinations in each, and then making decisions in one at a time. So you're not trying to make decisions in all 3 or 2 at once. And then spend an equal amount of energy in all 3 areas. And that's how you stay balanced. So it's basically putting your energy and attention on one decision in the moment and following through on that, staying committed to that, taking action on it. And then when you switch over to one of the other areas, then you spend energy there. And over time, if you balance the energy, if you spend equal energy in each, that's where balance comes from, because it's not a time equation, it's an energy equation. A lot of people look at balance as, I need to spend the same number of hours in each of these areas on a daily basis, and then over the course of my life, I'll be balanced. But that's really difficult to do, because then you're either cutting things short where you need to spend more time there, or you feel like you're not spending enough time on certain things because of external expectations, and trying to balance based on that equation is really tough. So if you look at it from a perspective of energy, one focused hour in one of these areas could add up to be equal to the amount of energy and focus for the rest of the day in a different area. So if you try to shift to looking at it as an energy equation, you can make a lot of progress and start to immediately feel that balance. And then staying focused means having clear signals, those activities I talked about, and taking action on those signals so you can basically scale up the mountain, get to the top, and get there quickly. Where focus goes, energy flows. I don't know if you've heard that before. I stole that from Tony Robbins, but it's true. If you think about it, when you're looking at one of those signals or those activities and you're focused on it, that's where your energy is going. And if you're trying to do that in 2 places at once, it's tiring, it's exhausting, it's confusing to you and to others. So stay in one area, on one action until you've completed it. So that's all the 4 pillars. And basically they fit together a little bit as a system: time, energy, action, and mission. And when you have those 4 pillars put together in a solid way, that's supporting your transformation leadership. If you're able to master these 4 things and start to make progress and improvement in all 4 of these areas, you're getting closer to being more prepared to be a strong, powerful transformation leader. And at the sort of the base of it all, or even maybe the foundation, if you will, it's your beliefs about yourself, about others, and about what's possible, your habits, your routines, and having the right goals. You could even substitute the word destinations in there for goals. So once you've kind of got all these pieces working together as a system, you'll really start to make a ton of progress in a short amount of time, weeks or months. And you'll kind of look back and realize all the years that you spent doing it the old way, it wasn't necessarily wasted time. You learned a lot. It got you to where you are today, but it doesn't predict the future. Don't let the past, the pace of things in the past predict the pace of things in the future. And so what I've created is what we call Transformation Leadership Academy. And that's basically the program that wraps all this together. And just want to take a second to tell you guys a little bit about that before we wrap. It's basically a 10-week program, and it's for, it's leadership development. It's for managers, directors, VPs. It's also for executives and owners of companies that have gone through this process too, because they can benefit as well. And it's a blend of self-paced, it's audio and visual, so virtual learning. There's virtual group Q&A sessions that go with it. And then there's also one-on-one coaching built into each person in the program. And so it's really designed for anyone who's driven, ambitious, they're at the management or executive level and want to make a bigger difference. They want to have a bigger impact and really contribute at a higher level to the growth of their companies. And by transforming yourself first, you're able to step into that role and do those things. And so the outcomes that people really get from that are they shrink their work weeks to 50 hours or less. Some of them are shrinking their work weeks to 30 hours and wondering, what do I do with all this extra time? And that's not an exaggeration, that's happening, but they're not sacrificing results. So they're not just stepping away from work, leaving early just to get their time back. They're actually getting better results, but doing it in way less time. They feel energized and inspired about the future of the company, their role as leaders, and they have a plan to build that. They grow the top line and bottom line financial performance. That almost becomes sort of like the secondary byproduct to the transformation that they experience themselves. And they're able to develop the new leaders throughout the organization. So they're building that next wave of people that are coming through, taking people from maybe the front line and making them the supervisors or even the directors who are going to take charge and take the company to the next level. A lot of times they get promoted to new positions. They're asked to join boards of directors. They forge bigger, stronger, better partnerships with customers and suppliers. And they love their jobs again. And they love their jobs while giving their families the focus and attention that they deserve. And finally, they establish healthier habits. They regain confidence and create a balance of their career ambition with their social and personal interests. So overall, they become a well-rounded, balanced individual, but they could become a stronger leader. And now they're in a position to really take transformation efforts to the next level and really drive those things deep into the core and culture of their organization. And that's all I had. So any questions on that? Or I looked in the chat, I didn't see anything new pop up. I don't know if you saw anything, Haley.
Yeah, there were a couple of questions that did come in, and I'm not sure, if you can give a definitive answer for these or not. One of the questions was, how long does it take to start seeing results when someone works with you? And what do those results look like?
So these are, and I apologize for missing the questions. The chat on my phone was not updating, but that's a great question. That's okay. No, it's a great question. And these are basically the results here, the outcomes, if you will, I like to call it. This is what most people can expect through the process. The program itself is a 10-week program called Transformational Leadership Academy. And the reason I built it as 10 weeks is because what I saw is working with people for 6 months, sometimes a year, there ended up being a lot of just extra things and too much information. And so I wanted to take that out and really just get rid of the fluff, boil it down to only the things that are going to make the biggest difference in the shortest amount of time, because those are principles that I'm teaching. So I also wanted the program to emulate it. And so 10 weeks typically is what people start to experience the change. Some of them see it a lot earlier. And what's great about the program is the things you learn carry through. And so within 3 to 4 months, you could really expect to see a significant difference in yourself, the people around you, and even the performance of your company.
So the second question really goes hand in hand with that, because the next question is, does it ever happen that there's a determination that the person you're working with is in a culture where they can't fully realize their potential and or make an effective change?
Yes, that comes up a lot where people talk about the toxicity of the environment, or a boss or manager they report to that just isn't flexible enough,
Right.
or that the culture of the business just doesn't really support bigger ideas or new things, or
Yeah.
isn't all about change, and they struggle. But what I will say is that, I'd say that's probably about half the people that go through this process have that as what they see as their biggest obstacle.
Yeah.
And when you start to put these principles into place and take these strategies and go through the program, you start to realize that that's not really an obstacle. You start to realize that a lot of that is based on the individuals around you, their own insecurities, their own doubts,
Mhm.
their own fears.
Mhm.
And as you learn that about yourself, you're able to, as the leader, help them identify and maybe even solve some of that themselves. And that starts to change the people around you. I always say that to everyone: when we change you first from the inside, the people around you respond differently. The environment changes,
Yeah.
because a lot of what we see happening is perception through our eyes based on our own beliefs. So we change that first, and you'll start to see things different, and you'll start to
Mhm.
see opportunities that that maybe right now seem like they're not there.
Yeah. I worked in a manufacturing facility before coming over to MassMEP, and I did not understand what at one point the president of the company had said to me, I'm looking to you to help with making the change in the culture. But I never realized that that was kind of a role that he had put me in, because he never talked to me about it. So until I knew that, it was one of those things where, well, if we had the conversation and I knew I could take more ownership in it and then get a better understanding of it to help transfer that across, the organization itself. So the communication was a part of it. But I think a lot of people ask us, how does MassMEP connect to this when it comes to you, Paul, and what you're doing? And you do a great job in letting everybody know, obviously, with your history and how you work with manufacturers and how you've been a part of that for so many years of your career, that's obviously who we work with. But we can offer these training programs because you are part of the Express Grant program that exists. And we do actually have 3 specific products that you can, gain through us, through MassMEP. We like to feel and kind of say that, we're the advisors that open up these doors, and you're a door that we're opening up, obviously, to some of the manufacturers that are on here right now, being able to see this and say, well, how can I get involved in this? And how can I do, learn a little bit more about this? We've put up, some of the contact information on there. Paul's is on there. We have Manny Jerome, who's one of our he's our business development advisor, but he's actually a manager. And then Lisa Oden, she's on the call with us, but she's silent right now behind the doors, and she's probably like, wait, why is my name on there right now? But Lisa Oden is, she can answer those questions. The Express Grant it's a program that's existed for a long time. It has had some changes in the past couple of months for opening up a lot more of these doors and opportunities to these smaller businesses as well. Fred is one of those people. Fred Kern, he is with, his company is under 100 employees. So knowing that you have this Express Grant option where it's 100% and it gets covered, there's no cash flow obligation as long as you're under 100 employees. You operate in the state of Massachusetts and you have a valid certificate of good standing. We can connect you, get you to the Express Grant program, and then anybody over 100, it's a 50-50 match, or as one of our third parties likes to say, it's 50 cents on every dollar. So that's where we kind of fall into play here, and that's why we offer these opportunities. And this previous webinar, Paul's just giving you just a tiny little bit of what he can dig into. I mean, obviously, for the program and the way it's listed out, the length of time, there's so much more that you can dig into. This is just scratching the surface. But if there's parts of this where you felt engaged and energized and inspired and thought, you know what? Yes, we can use this. You can obviously reach out to us. For those of you that don't know how to use the QR code, you just get your phone out. You open up your camera on your Apple phones and you just put your camera up to it and it'll actually take you right to their website, to their email addresses, and you can email them directly. If you have an Android, you do have to have a QR code reader on your phone, but they're pretty easy to access. I do see, so it says, Ron asks a question, what is the average size, number of employees of your current client base, Paul? And do you see this program more effective for smaller organizations?
So it'd be hard to answer the average because I do work with small and large companies. And some of them, some companies are 10,000 people. But overall, it's really more geared towards the smaller companies. 250 or less employees, because if you're a vice president or director in a company of 200 people, and this is where you're struggling and what you want to accomplish is changing the organization, it'll work really well for you. If you're in a larger organization and you have a department that you run of a few hundred people, or even a small team of 10, but you're part of a multi-thousand-dollar company, it still works. It's just going to be starting off having a smaller reach at first, because then what the idea would be is that you could spread this to some of the other managers that you work with, and start to have that ripple effect out from you, which means it'll take a little bit longer to change more of the people in a larger scale impact of a large company, but it's just as effective for the individual. But as far as somebody who may be in a smaller company, they're going to see results at the company level faster, just because it's going to help them extend their reach more immediately. So it's works great for the under 100 employees. And like you talked about, Haley, with the Express Grant, it's perfect. It's easy to get in. It's not cash out of their pocket to do it. And within 10 to 12 weeks, they're already going to see the transformation. And if you want to call it the ROI, in a lot of cases, they'll see that coming back in just the way they engage with their customer base, or how they generate new business. If they're in a position to do that as an executive or a VP, it'll happen much faster than if they did it the old way. Sometimes it happens in a matter of weeks, where they form those new relationships and they have that light bulb moment where they're like, okay, now I get it. I know exactly how to talk to people differently, where they're going to be more excited about what I'm saying, and they're going to want to join us. They're going to want to either buy from us or come partner with us. And that can happen within weeks.
Yeah, I think that's a good, I mean, I know we're right on the time here, but I do think that's a very good point that Paul's making right now in this current state that we are in with the workforce and people, how we've done many webinars on retention and recruiting. And I think this is an element of that can help with that retention. So just like you're saying, you're developing people want to come and be a part of that organization because of how the culture is set. So I think this is worth it. So for those of you, thanks for sticking with us. We've answered all the questions, but like we said at the beginning, you can always go back to our Facebook or our YouTube channel, and you can watch Paul go through this again. And if you didn't take notes the first time, you definitely want to take notes. The second time through, I wrote a couple down myself. So, and feel free to reach out to us at MassMEP. You can go to our website at massmep.org, and we do have a contact us page. But as you can see here right in front of you, here are some contact points that you can reach out to directly. And I know Paul would be willing to answer any questions that anyone has, as would we, to be able to start working with you to get you through the Express Grant. And let's get you in this training with Paul. So thanks everyone for joining us. Well, thanks for sticking with us for the extra 2 minutes. We appreciate it. But thank you, Paul, as well, for doing the webinar with us. So
Thank you.
Everybody have a great afternoon. Okay. It's just us. And